ready? Man to man, break.
It's high school football now. Presented by Fourth Down Magazine with Eric Epler and Andy Shay. Time for a look at Central PA football. Here are Eric Epler and Andy Shay.
Hey, welcome back to another edition of High School Football Now. We are presented by Fourth Down Magazine. It is week 2, 3, maybe 4 for some. Anyway, we're talking high school football here. Full 60 minutes of action. My colleague, as always, Andrew P. Shay joins us. Andrew, how are you?
Good, Double E. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. My lines got beat, but
yep,
it's Drew Brees. What do you expect?
My Buccaneers are 3-1.
We are not. Hot seat.
3-1. Be careful, but that's also Steel High roller colors. Foreshadowing alert.
It is. It's a couple of Steel High roller items, color schemes in the background. Anyway, let's tell everybody what's going to happen here in the next 60 minutes. Quarter number 1, we are going to zip around Central PA football, talk about some of the wild outcomes, solid outcomes, some surprises. Of course, we always have a bunch of those each week in Central PA football. We'll talk a little bit about a few of them. Quarter number 2, we'll play a little over-under. We will explain what that is a little.
Yeah, you got to join us for that one to know what it is, and it's not what you think it is.
It's not what you think it is.
Right.
Not at all. Second half, we are scheduled to begin with a couple of Steel High rollers. Andy mentioned them. We're scheduled to have Mehki Flowers here, and of course, two-way lineman standout Tydre Holland Alli will join us for quarter number 3. And, of course, quarter number 4, always our picks and predictions. One of us took a lead in the Epler Cup race. One of us is a game behind, I believe, now. We'll get to all that in quarter number 4. All right, hey, let's do it, man. Let's start real fast and furious. War Memorial Field seems like a perfect place to go. Steel High is your winner, 43-21 over Middletown.
Upset?
No, not an upset.
So, for me, I'm thinking the thing that strikes me is the Rollers putting up 43 points. That's not a surprise, right? Does that surprise you?
No, not this group.
No, it doesn't surprise me. What's kind of grabbed me a little bit, it's the 21 that Middletown scored, right? That tells me a lot about the Rollers' defense and the job they did. They doubled them up, right? Yeah. I think I saw the highlights, obviously. I just think that Odell Green running behind that offensive line for $100 every game, it just provides this sense of sort of grind it out and lets the offensive line sort of elevate itself and get more confidence and better. It just sort of provides this balance to open up the, half dozen 6'3" guys they got to throw to on the outside and go, streaking all over the field and running crossing routes and rub routes and everything. I think that sets up what they do offensively. But to me, the result of this game is based on what Steel High did defensively. That's what grabbed me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, listen, we talked about Steel High. The athleticism here is off the charts.
Yeah.
We'll talk to a couple of those guys in quarter number 3. But the thing is, with Middletown, we knew they were breaking a bunch of different faces.
Right.
But you always expect at the bare minimum that those guys up front are strong enough, as good technique-wise, to kind of deal with it, apply pressure to quarterbacks, maybe make them throw off his back foot, get them out of their comfort zone. Middletown really wasn't able to do that, and when they did, the athleticism of Steel High was just too much for Middletown to bear.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit last week about freshman quarterback Alex Irby, coach's son. Don't get me wrong, very, very talented, but he has stepped into a really good situation here. You mentioned those 6'3" statues. Mehki Flowers is one of them, who's an unbelievable athlete. Tyron Moore is another 6'3" target. Damian Hammond's another 6'3" target. I mean, there's not – I would argue there's probably not another team in the state, regardless of classification, who has 3 wideouts who are 6'3", it can leap like that. So you put that on the field, and then you add in Mr. Green. Oh, by the way, the Middletown transfer.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
2 years ago. And this running attack against what you talked about, this kind of developing and mature and confident offensive line. These guys are going to be a handful no matter what.
Yeah.
So great win for Steel High. It's been a while since they got on the good side of this matchup with this rivalry. The 23-point margin, yes, I agree with you, surprising, not the winner.
Yeah, not the winner at all. All right, let's keep moving in the week that was. Let's get a little light one in here. Let's go East Pennsboro 38, new regime, new system, new coach. First time in a long time. What? Almost 2 decades, right? That East Pennsboro was not coached by Todd Studer. East Pennsboro 38, Fleetwood 23. It's kind of a COVID game, and we'll explain that in a minute. But you're going to find COVID games each and every week this year. Good win for the Panthers.
Yeah, John Denniston, the head coach, gets his first W here. And like you said, East Penn was supposed to play Susquehanna Township. They got some COVID issues on the Indians program and then the school. So they picked up Fleetwood, got a real good win, 38-25 or 38-23 in this game. I was just, whenever you mix things up like that early in the week, to me, it's always difficult to be laser focused on Friday night.
Correct.
It always seems to me that you're going to start this, going to be ragged, and maybe you pull it back and maybe you win the football game. But this was a East Penn team that looked very, very, very good from the start in this game. They looked dialed in, which surprised me because I know Fleetwood's not a powerhouse.
They are not.
Still, East Penn is still struggling to get to that point.
Yep.
And they're only 2 games in. So I just enjoyed what they were able to do. I like I said, congrats to Coach Denniston. Congrats to the Panthers. Jacob Schermeyer had a good game in this one. He's a guy that's been around a long time. So good, solid win.
So, yeah, and for the Panthers, so you're 0-1, and they got cuffed around by Northern in week 1, right? So you've got a new coach, new system. There's adjustments to be made in week 1 to week 2. Now you throw in the COVID world football, where you're just grabbing an opponent as fast as you can so that you can get the game in, and then you go out and grab a win. For me, that's if you can put points on the board and move the offense forward a little bit, that's a good thing. They're still, if you look at both games, they're surrendering a lot of points. Their defense is still struggling. It's a big win, but they still got a lot of work to do to be more competitive inside that division.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, upset alert. West Shore Stadium? No, was this game in Hershey?
I think it was in Hershey, yeah.
I think it was in Hershey.
Yeah.
Let's just Hershey 28, Cedar Cliff 21. Go ahead, Ep. You got it. Upset alert.
Again, raise your hand if you saw this one coming. Like, nobody saw this coming. And, and we'll talk a little bit about Hershey a little bit in quarter number 2, and we'll get to that. But I thought we talked about this a lot over the years about the residual effects of hard victories. And Cedar Cliff maybe, and I don't want to take anything away from Hershey here, because they jumped on the Colts quickly in this one, weathered the storm on the comeback, and then beat them 28-21. So that shows a lot of gumption, a lot of pride in what you're doing, and basically just a lot of grit to me. So that's something that Hershey really hasn't had in a couple years, and they've been tumultuous years. It's not all been a lack of talent or the coaching carousel that's happened. A lot of this is not falling on the actual roster. There's been a lot of peripheral stuff at Hershey that just kind of ruined a bunch of things. So that being said, to kind of get focused here to weather the storm against a Cedar Cliff team that went wire to the wire and won a double overtime thriller against Berks Catholic in their opener. I can't say enough good things about this 2-0 start for Hershey. Yes, the competition is still out there. There's still going to be some tough games to play, but I don't think anybody saw Hershey being 2-0 at this point.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Hershey in our over-under segment in quarter 2. I just want to say this. So it's a turnover-laced game, right?
Yes.
Cedar Cliff starts slow. They come back. Don't forget, they scored 21 points, but they had a defensive touchdown. So Hershey's defense played a pretty solid football game, right? I know Cedar Cliff lost its quote unquote next running back for the season, pretty much, right? He's out for the year. Morris is out for the year. But
Dante Morris got injured. Yes, he's out for the year now.
So Cedar Cliff comes back and takes a 21-14 lead with 5 minutes to go against a Hershey offense that had 2 completions in the football game until that point. That's the bottom dropping out, right? You lose that football game. 5 minutes ago, you take a lead. You're up a touchdown. It doesn't even go to overtime. Right. You lose in the last, 5 minutes, in the last 300 seconds to a team that had 2 completions up until that point. 55-yard pass from Jackson Bosla to Davey Lloyd, 2:08 to play, 21 all. Overtime, right? Cedar Cliff can't move, gives the ball back. Joey Corrado. That's a name to remember. He's a good kicker. We knew he was a good kicker. He was a good kicker last year, right? He's also a good wide receiver now, too. Week 1, kicks a game-winning field goal. Week 2, hauls in a 69-yard catch and run inside the final 30 seconds to beat Cedar Cliff. That's crazy. 2 bombs by the Trojans. They hit 2 or 3 bombs against Redland to make the difference in that game. Their defense has been solid, I think, for 4 quarters if you look at it. Bombardiers. Hershey is 2-0, and we're going to talk about them more in quarter number 2. Hey, when you need high-quality printing that is affordable and completed on a tight deadline, please choose Fortney Printing. Fortney Printing has been locally owned and trusted for more than 3 decades. Whether you're a large corporation, client, a team, school, or individual with a small job, Fortney Printing will treat you like family. Call or email today for a quote. Mention Fort Down. That's 717-939-6422, or email adam@fortneyprinting.com. Fortney Printing, your trusted source for promotional items, printing, and PP&E in the Harrisburg area. All righty, back to you.
All right, let's continue with the week that was. We're going back to Speed Ebersol Stadium, Landis Field, Colonial Park International Airport, whatever the name of this place is. We're talking about the Central Dauphin Rams moving to 2-0 in the season with a 35-13 victory over State College. If you recall, State College got a delay in the season in the OK, basically, to start contact sports. So they strapped it on for the first time on Friday night at Landis and could not contain the Rams. Andy, we texted back and forth at halftime of this one. You were watching it, I believe. You got a couple whiffs of the live stream.
I was watching
the game on TV. I don't know if it was TV or live stream, whatever it was.
It was on TV live stream, yes.
And you actually said to me what I was about to text to you first was State College needed a tune-up game. They weren't ready for this.
They weren't ready.
Yeah, they just weren't ready for this kind of pressure. Central Dauphin, even though it's only week 2 for them, they do look like a well-oiled machine right now. Their run game's working well. Max Mosey could not have been more comfortable in the pocket. Central Dauphin's scheme flushes him out quite a bit and makes him move and throw on the run. But when he didn't have to, I mean, he literally could have baked a batch of cookies in the pocket and then still delivered the strikes.
Bombs, dude.
I'm telling you, I really haven't seen a quarterback basically command and just be the presence, just be a quarterback like this in a little while. I mean, he seems so comfortable back. It's ridiculous. And he threw 2 touchdown passes, one to Tyrell English and one to Malachi Bowman, that were 2 of the best passes I've ever seen thrown, deep balls by a high school quarterback. So, I mean, you couldn't have put them any better. So that's basically State College just, if this game is played 6 weeks from now, it's a lot closer. But they just weren't ready for Central Dauphin.
They weren't ready. And, speaking of Max, I'm old, you're old, I'm older, right? So we're both old. He reminds me of Ken Stabler, dude, from the Oakland Raiders back in the day. He just stands there. He literally stands there like a statue and then just throws these rainbows that drop in it's absolutely gorgeous. But speaking of State College and CD, the number of weapons that CD has kind of hit me. I mean, we knew about Timmy Smith, but they got Bowman, they got Choppy running the ball. But, Fick is better, right?
I mean, I tell you, State College could not stop the counter. Dan Fick ran, I think it was maybe seven times for 53 yards, all on the same play. It was all counter.
So the interesting thing was CD was not clean either. They turned the ball over 3 times in the first 13 minutes. A muff punt, a fumble, and an interception. And State College took the ball over in plus territory on CD's side of the field at like the 40, the 38, the 37, stuff like that.
Yep.
They couldn't even get a first down, let alone even threaten to score and dent. That means that, they just weren't ready with all the new guys. Plus Green didn't play, right? Their star running
Dresden Green, their all-state running back did not play in this one.
So
yeah.
It adds up, right? All right, let's keep moving on and close this out real quick. A couple more games to get to. Mechanicsburg 35, Shippensburg 20. That score would tell you that it was something, but I don't know. I don't think it was. Well,
I think I think a little bit of it was the domino effect from Shippensburg losing in week 1 and how they lost to Waynesboro, which is obviously one of their rivals. Shippensburg has big expectations, and rightfully so. And I think maybe they just dragged some of that baggage into this game. And, Mechanicsburg is not the team to slow it down. Mechanicsburg has
U-Haul dragging behind you when you play Mechanicsburg.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I mean, once you get it and once Mechanicsburg shoves it in your face for, the quick first 10, 12 minutes of the football game, you're stunned. You're stunned. Yeah. This game's 35-0 at halftime.
That's it. I mean, Mike and the boys, he's got some weapons, right? Micah Brubaker and the boys.
Yeah.
Hung 35 on the Greyhounds in a half, shut it down. Coach Rose closed up shop and said, let's get out of here. We're done. Dude, whoa. All right, last one we're going to knock out. It's Cumberland Valley 7, CDE 6. I'll let you have the final word on this.
Just congrats to Josh Oswald. Obviously, coming back to your alma mater is exciting times. A rough opener out there in Altoona in week 1 for them. They come back. They get a hard-fought win. Nothing in this game was pretty. Nothing came easy, evidenced by the score 7-6. But they got the stop when it mattered most on the 2-point conversion. And I can't say enough good things about the call. I love that Aaron Blanding pulled the trigger. I mean, they had not moved the ball all game long. They bag a big play to get down there, score the touchdown. Yeah, you go for it. Absolutely, you go for it, especially on the road.
Yeah.
So I applaud the call. I know it didn't work, and people are going to second. But you know what? I don't second guess that one bit. I love what he did for it.
No, you absolutely go for it. The team combined, I don't think the teams reached 300 yards of total offense.
Right.
And that included the 49-yard bomb that CD East hit late to even have the decision to go for 2. But, I mean, that's 8 quality quarters, I think you could say, out of CD East defense based on where they are, right?
Yep,
They played good defense. They just struggle offensively. And, the only thing I'll say is that Cumberland Valley isn't a player on any stage right now, whether it's the division stage or anything above that. They're just not a player right now. They've got a lot of work to do. So, all right, that'll do it for quarter number 1. We've got quarter number 2 coming up. We got a special over-under segment. And, again, stick around for that because what will you think it is not. This is Fourth Down Magazine's High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. We'll be right back.
It's High School Football Now, presented by Fourth Down Magazine with Eric Epler and Andy Shay. Time for a look at Central PA football. Here are Eric Epler and Andy Shay.
All right, welcome back to High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. We are presented by Fourth Down Magazine. You can find us through the Small Player Big Play app and YouTube. All right, we got done with quarter number 1. It is time for quarter number 2, but I will remind you, coming up at the bottom, quarter number 3, we got a couple of Steel High standouts. A wide receiver and safety, Mehki Flowers, will join us, as well as guard and defensive end, Tydre Holland Alli. They will be here to talk a little bit about the Middletown game and about the season in general. All right, hey, quarter number 2, we are going to do a little over-under, and what is that? Well, we thought what we would do, because we have we have quite a list now of teams that have surprised us. Some of these outcomes have surprised us so far. Right. It's that kind of year with everything that's going on. So we wanted to take a look at how we sort of dissected these teams leading into the season and where we are now with some of these teams after a couple weeks of the season gone by. Obviously, there's been some surprises here. So what we did was we wanted to tell folks, did we overvalue these teams? Did we undervalue these teams, or are these teams right where we think they should be at this point in the season? Again, it's early, a lot of football left. Hopefully there's a lot of football left. Things changing every, couple of minutes. But let's take a look at 7 teams that we picked out, and we're going to start with Hershey. I'll let you start. Let's start with Hershey. 2-0 Hershey.
I'll start with Hershey. I would say they're slightly undervalued, maybe. Slightly undervalued. The quarterback play from Jackson Boslaw has been spotty at best. He has connected on the deep ball, though. He's got 4 or 5 big ones, a couple of deep bomb touchdowns to beat Cedar Cliff in 2 games, and that was enough. I think the biggest improvement overall for me from a year ago is defensively. I think they've been solid. They helped Cedar Cliff to 2 offensive touchdowns in that 28-21 victory in week 2 here. So I think that's the place that they've stepped up. I still think it's still a slight undervalue, but think about this, E. These are their next 3 games. Palmyra, Mifflin County, Lower Dauphin. Are you talking 5-0 Hershey?
I think you are talking 5-0 Hershey.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, I don't see why not. And that's the thing about Hershey. I think they're right where they're expected to be. And now granted, no one gave them a prayer against Cedar Cliff. So you can say most figured they'd be 1-1 at this point at best. So 2-0, little surprising to me, yes. But this was a team that was picked 3rd or 4th by the coaches in the Keystone Division, entering the preseason. We sort of poll coaches and then run an anonymous, poll to kind of rank the order of finish. So it wasn't like a complete outlier that Hershey really didn't have a chance to compete in this division. So there was that. There was the fact that they had 14 starters back, and a lot of these guys took a lot of lumps in that 3-7 season last year. So that was something that we figured they would be obviously a little better equipped to compete here. The 2-0 start's fantastic, but I think right now they're right at that plateau. So I think they're right there.
All right, we're in the same zip code, but we're not shopping in the same aisle.
That's correct.
So, all right, who's next?
Boiling Springs. Let's go with Boiling Springs. Over or under?
Oh, to me, they're undervalued all the way. Coming off an 0-10 season, we knew, though, that they had a lot of the same cast of characters back, right? And when I say cast of characters, I don't mean that in any bad way or anything. It's just a lot of the same dudes, right? They had a lot of the same guys back from an 0 team, which always begs the question, are they better with a lot of the same cast? Are they going to be improved? How are they going to be it? The early schedule this year has favored them. Susquehanna and Trinity are not, all that swifty-wifty, as I like to say. But they beat them those 2 teams by a combined score of 93-13. So that tells you they got a little more pop on their offense. Big Spring's going to provide a little bit of a better test this week. But I swear, gosh, I think I'd make the Bubblers a slight favors in this game early. But in terms of the way they're winning, it doesn't, irregardless of the opponent, and the way they've accounted for themselves offensively, undervalued all the way.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I think we certainly did undervalue them, and most coaches did too. They were picked dead last in the Capital Division, 7th overall in the 7-team league. I think what has sort of stuck out to me in the interim, and you mentioned the competition is going to get tougher. I mean, for sure.
It is.
But being 2-0 at this point, what Coach Zell has done really has brought sort of a calm to this program, if you will. And he's brought us to a little bit of a stability up front. And that's something Boiling Springs really didn't have in the past couple of years. These guys like Mason Sowers, the guys up front, Evan Beam, Cole McClintock, they're not the biggest guys, but they understand how to use leverage. And in the wing T system, that means everything. So they're having success rushing the football with Joey Mehki. Devon James has rushed the ball extremely well.
Yeah.
So they're playing to their strengths.
Their strengths, right.
And that's really something Boiling Springs has not done in the past couple of years. So yes, we absolutely undervalued them. Again, it may be looking at if they get the 8 games in or the 7 games in, it may be at best a 4-3 or maybe a 3-4, something like that. But the way this team has started out, I don't think anybody envisioned that either. So yes, we undervalued them.
All right, who's next, E? Where we
All
go?
right, next up. Huh?
You can pick them. You can tell me. I'm ready.
Next up is Middletown.
Slightly overvalued. is where I'm going. I mean, they've reloaded so flawlessly for half a decade, right?
Right.
Perhaps the expectations maybe were slightly too high. And in the world we live in, injuries, football injuries have played a minor role, right? But that's nothing new, right? Injuries always kind of play a little bit of a role. They've maybe played a little bit more than a minor role for Middletown. I still think they're a good football team. I just think the weight of expectations was probably too high, and that's why I give them slightly overvalued.
Yeah, I mean, not having Tony Powell, their quarterback under center, certainly changes things on that offense, especially for an offense breaking in some new linemen, breaking into some new running backs, and basically you're relying on Tamir Jackson to do a lot of things.
Got hurt.
To do a lot of things. And Tajay Brody on the defensive side is one of the few veterans back there as well. So I think they're right where they're supposed to be. I know the optics of the Steel High game look bad, but I don't think anybody's really surprised that Steel High won the football game. I think they're surprised at the 23-point margin. But, to me, I think Middletown's right where they should be, 1-1 after 2 weeks. And this is still going to be a pretty good football team that can compete in 3A. I think they're still probably the favorite in 3A. Well, not when you count why I'm missing. But this is still a good football team. And once they get healthy and a few more quarters under their belts, I think they'll be just fine.
All right, keep us moving.
All right, let's go to Shippensburg. 0-2 Greyhounds. Over, under.
Overvalued. I mean, okay, so you lost to Scrap to Waynesboro by 2 points when you went for a 2-point conversion late to try it in the opening of COVID Road football, right, which is always strange. That's fine. There's nothing unusual about that. But, I mean, it's been a while since somebody made the Greyhounds' performance in the second half completely irrelevant like Mechanicsburg did. Right. I mean, to me, that's got sirens and hurricane warning flags flying all around. So I'm going to put them in overvalued. I can't put my finger on it, but I can't point to one thing, or it just doesn't feel right the way they're performing.
I haven't seen any kind of consistency in any part of their game, whether it's offense, rushing, passing, defensive wise, turnovers. I just haven't seen any consistency through 2 weeks to the season. So I don't know if it's I mean, we think it's there, but 0-2 is certainly really, really overvalued, these guys. We knew Mechanicsburg and Susquehanna Township were going to come into this division and shake things up.
Right. They were going to change the landscape.
Susquehanna Township obviously took that loss to Greencastle Lantern week 1, hasn't played because of some COVID issues. I don't know if they're going to play this week. Probably not. So Shippensburg was the historical team. They were there, and they were controlling the Colonial for the last 3-4 seasons. Northern would peck in there a little bit too, but right. Yeah, I think we definitely overvalued Shippensburg. I mean, they've got the tools to turn things around, but it doesn't get any easier. I mean, Northern's still on the table. Right. Susquehanna Township's still on the table. So you've got Greencastle. So it's not going to be easy. And West Perry's playing a lot better than what we thought. Yep. We might get to them here in a second. So, all right, hey, Manheim Central, over under.
Yeah, I got to put them as overvalued. The schedule's been tough. I get it. Cedar Crest, Calico, Warwick, bang, bang, bang. And now Solenko's on deck. Yikes. They're replacing 18, 19, 20 starters. That's always going to be a little tough. But it's Manheim Central, the Barons. You figured they'd be competitive, right? Even at that replacement at that high of a level.
Right.
I'm not sure they've been all that competitive against Calico and Warwick, if you know what I mean. I mean, if they were 0-3, it would be shocking, right? 1-2 is very, very surprising. And it's not that they're losing, it's more how they're losing that puts them in the overvalued category for me.
Yeah, I went slightly overvalued too. I mean, you mentioned the 20.
I went full overvalued, partner.
Huh? Did you
I
go
went
full
overvalued. Yeah.
I went slightly because of some of the things you mentioned, the scheduling. Obviously, Warwick's a powerhouse in 5A, and then you turn right around and get a rivalry game with Calico. So 1-2 is not what Manhattan Central's used to. But again, the scheduling and the breaking in of those new starters, I think, has just. It's just going to take some time. They're just going to need some time. And I know you don't have a lot of time in the COVID abbreviated schedule world, but it is going to take some time.
Next.
Yeah, exactly. And Solanko is next, who just knocked off who. So I put him at slightly overvalued. All right, Cocalico. Speaking of Cocalico.
All right, right. I have him right where expected. Maybe, just maybe, using our little metric here that we're doing, Solanko would be undervalued, right?
Right.
The Golden Mules just beat Cocalico. Before the LO kicked off, you look at the Eagles' schedule, knowing what they lost. What, 2 or 3 all-state players, including Noah Palm, the Player of the Year, and do everything for them. You look at their schedule, and you say 2-1 right now, right? After 3 games in the abbreviated schedule, you looked at and you say Cocalico's 2-1. That feels right to me, so I gave them right where expected.
Yeah, I put them at slightly overvalued too. I mean, this was a team too, and again, it's a new head coach, not new to the system, but a new head coach. And you get off to a really good start.
Right.
And this, I would consider this a clunker. I would consider the loss to Solanko a clunker. And you just – I'm not used to that. We're not used to seeing that from Cocalico under Noah Palm and guys like Gingrich who were there. So I put them at slightly overvalued. I think it's a bad loss for them, but it's still a good quality football team. So I'm not panicking for Cocalico by any means, but – all right, last 1A. We're going to head to Berks County, although they're in the LL. Wilson Bulldogs, over under.
Right where I expected. Right where you'd expect. So, to me, the biggest mystery, and I put the mystery aside, in District 3 so far is what happened in Week 1 when Governor Mifflin dropped 41 unanswered on the Bulldogs. That's just a mystery, so I kind of moved that away. Their answer to that, though, was beating Manheim Township in a 50-50 game all the way, right? And then turn around and drub Penn Manor as you would expect, right? The exact sort of score and the way game played out is right what you would expect. They should get better week to week because they always get better week to week. They are getting better week to week. So if you said Governor Mifflin, Manheim Township, and Penn Manor, Wilson's 2-1. Feels about right to me.
So you give them a pass for that Week 1 then? Is that what happened?
I just call that like a mystery, like Salisbury steak. Like you don't know what the meat's in it. It's like a mystery to me. I can't figure it out. Like you go to Friendly's and you order Salisbury steak. You don't know what's in it, and you don't know what's in the gravy, so you don't order it, right?
It's the old Eaton Park special. You don't know what.
Park special, right? There's no explanation for Governor Mifflin dropping a 41 burger unanswered on Wilson, so you have to kind of put that aside, right, and say, okay, you put that aside a little bit, and it was early in the COVID world. What have they done since then? So maybe the losses are flipped. Maybe you expect them to beat. Maybe they beat Governor Mifflin, lose to Manheim Township, beat Penn Manor 2-1. Right, what I expected.
See, here's what you do. If you don't know what kind of meat it is, you eat the chicken.
Yeah,
you always move on. You move on. You eat the chicken.
Right, and you get the chicken stuffed, and you get the mashed potatoes on the side.
That's right. Now I have them right where expected to. I was just joshing. Yeah, I think like I mentioned with Middletown, it's a good football team. They got burned there in Week 1 by Governor Mifflin, who is no slouch. Obviously, They are state ranked for a very, very good reason. The margin is, again, the optics of that margin. Look, whoa, what happened?
Right.
But I agree with you. The troops bounced back. They're at 2-1. They're moving forward. They're still the D3 6A contender. So I agree with you. I think they're right where they expected. All right. That'll do it for the over-under segment. Coming up, quarter number 3, we're going to welcome in a couple of Steel High standouts. This is High School Football Now with Eric and Andy right here, Fourth Down Magazine and the Small Player Big Play app. Come on back.
Okay.
Back to High School Football Now, presented by Fourth Down Magazine.
Hey, welcome back to High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. We are presented by Fourth Down Magazine, and this is the second half, start of the third quarter, and we always welcome in the actual guys playing on Friday nights and Saturday afternoons. High noon, apparently, up on Cottage Hill now. New time for the Rollers. Andy, who do we have?
Number 52 in your 2020 Steel High Rollers football program, 6'3", 210-pound senior offensive guard, defensive end, Tydre Holland Alli. And number 9 on your Steel High roster is 6'3", 195-pound junior, wide receiver, safety, kick returner, Mehki Flowers. Mr. Flowers, got to put it out there, 4-star prospect in the 2022 class. He's a top 5 ranked player in the state, top 15 in the country at his position and just barely outside the top 100 overall. In the 2022 class, he has offers from, among others, Arizona State, Penn State, Georgia Tech, Cincinnati, Nebraska, Kentucky, Pitt, Rutgers, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and West Virginia. That's just a few of them. So, gentlemen, we really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for the time. Congratulations on the good start. Well done, victory over Middletown. I'm sure Mr. Epler will have some questions about that.
Thank you.
My first question, and it's the same for both of you, and Tydre, I want you to answer it first, since you're a dude in the trenches, and the first bite of publicity never goes to the guys in the trenches. So I'm going to give you the first shot at this question. What, in your opinion, is the reason this version of the Rollers defensively only, is better than a year ago?
I mean, you're talking about dudes. We've been playing with each other for a long time. Like, our front, we've been playing with each other since freshman year when we had to wait our turn to come up, with that team. And then I think a lot of it's just experience, and I feel like the game is really starting to, like, slow down for us. So it's becoming a lot easier to go out there and make plays.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted Mehki to answer the same question because he gets to see it all in front of him.
Yeah, like Tydre said, this group, actually, I've been waiting for this group for a long time. We've all been together since Smurfs, actually, coming up. So getting to play with these guys is pretty fun. And knowing what each other can do and having confidence in each other, that takes a lot. That takes a big part in our defense.
All right.
Guys, did you make the offseason obviously was a difficult one, but once you got for workouts and things like that and pads, did you guys really work on tackling? I mean, that was the one thing. Obviously, you guys are athletic. You moved to the football well, but it seemed like tackling was sort of the hang-up for you guys defensively the last couple of years. Did you guys really work on that in the offseason?
Yeah. Our head coach, Coach Derby, picking up Coach Lansdene from McDevitt. So he came in, and right away, that's one of the first things he noticed. My tackling, like, every day in practice, they always yell everybody to the ball, more than one person on the tackle. So working on that helped a lot.
Tydre, same thing?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I was going to ask, because you guys always have, you had the speed to get there. It always seemed like it was sort of, I don't know, maybe short arm to here and there, but it seemed like the first couple, and I've seen you 2 weeks now, that part of your game has really come around, and not just individual efforts. You guys are all hawking the ball and getting to the ball carriers and playing assignment football. How important has that been too for you guys to play kind of assignment football to get to this quick start?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's been really important. One of our main things that we talk about in practice is do your 111th, and that means everybody do their one job. So when everybody does their one job, the defense works.
Hey, Tydre, we know the Rollers offensively, you guys are big play, right? The capacity is always there. I mean, Epler and I were talking earlier in the show, and we're like, we're not sure there's three other teams that have, 3-6-3 trees and wide receivers that can go up that high and get a ball, bring it down, and then outrun everybody. But from your seat on the inside, on the offensive line, how important is Mr. Green and the running game to this offense, and why?
I think it's the biggest part, and I say my why is pretty much because, once Odell gets into a groove and, we do our job up front,
right?
The clock continues to tick, and, it just becomes the game. It's more, not only do they have to worry about the passing, now they have to worry about the running, which can, a lot of defense, like if you can't have one side of the ball, not one side, but if you can't stop one aspect of offense, then,
right.
It's just going to be,
Long game.
And it doesn't seem like he needs many carries. I mean, he seems like he's pretty good for 100 a game. That's like sometimes it takes 14 carries, sometimes it takes 21 carries, but that's pretty much something that you guys can count on now, right? Is 100-plus yards a game out of your running game from him specifically.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, Mehki, we always talk about the quarterback position, and you have to sort of earn your respect there. Alex Irby's just a freshman, young gun coming into this situation. From your perspective, how's he done? And Tydre, what's it like sort of taking commands from a freshman in the huddle and kind of working for him? Well, I'll start with Mehki.
That's a good question.
Yeah, the way he takes command and like pushes others, like I tell a lot of people, you would think like first glance, first time meeting him, you would think he would be a senior. Like he just leads in a different way. Like actually today in practice, he had threw me this one ball and it kind of went over my head. And I was like, I couldn't get it. He was like, you can get that. You got to get that one. And I'm like, dang, no quarterback ever said that to me before. So that kind of tells you like he's a leader. He's a real leader.
Yeah, he's a great leader, you know, especially at his age, man. Like he's extremely young. And as far as me, like up front, you know, we know that the more we do our job, you know, the less stress is on him because he's a young quarterback, you know, he's still developing. So the more we take the pressure off of him, the more he's able to get loose and make those deep balls to Mehki.
And Mehki, I wanted to ask you, so there's a moment in every game, right? In the football game, I'm not talking about we're confident, we believe in what we're doing. During the actual game, Friday night with Middletown, there's always that time when you know what? We got them. We got them. This is our game. And at what point did it feel like that to you on Friday night? You know, sort of when you have that feeling like it doesn't matter what you do, we got you. They've done it a lot to other teams. They do it a lot to other teams. When did you feel that point Friday night, and what did that feel like?
Actually, right at halftime when I caught that ball, when we came back out, actually, I told the team, we got them. We're in the right position. I told them they've never been in that position ever. Like, I've never seen Middletown in that position. So
right.
When we had them in that position and a chance to win, I told my team, we got to capitalize right here.
Guys, did it matter? Did it matter that it was such a one-sided game? Did it matter to you guys? I mean, you didn't want to – obviously you wanted to win the football game. But did it matter the fact that, you know, they got the best year the last couple of years? It's been a wide margin 3 or 4 of those times. Did it matter that you guys made a statement in this game?
Yeah, like I just said, they've like Middletown as like a program and all the guys that came through, there wasn't a lot of times they've been in a position like that to where like kind of like they had no chance. So knowing going into the fourth, well, like middle of the fourth, it was like kind of a blowout and we were making big plays on defense. They weren't getting a lot. That's when kind of felt good to have that energy.
Tydre?
Yeah, man, I would say the same thing. I feel like this win really, like, I think everybody's confident now. I think, you know, and even like people who probably thought we weren't going to win that game, it just showed you that, like, because the moment I felt like we had them was when it was probably the fumble was like around in the fourth quarter, and because they're a good team, man, they can come back, you know.
Right.
And before you know it, it's a tie game. So that fumble and, you know, us scoring, I was relieved because, you know, it was a big game. It was a big statement too.
Hey, one question I wanted to ask, and I'm going to ask everyone all the players that we get on the show this year, because we have restricted access and, you know, we're doing this over, you know, Zoom, which is really cool, and we appreciate it. But I'd like to know from your perspective, you guys are living it, right? It's difficult and strange and weird playing football in a COVID world, right? And we know that. And this might be the new normal going forward for everybody, right? But it's not normal now, right? We all know that it does not feel normal right now. I'd like to know from each of you, and I'll start with you, Tydre, what's the most difficult part or the most unusual part from your perspective about playing football in a COVID world that you've had to learn how to deal with and sort of embrace and accept?
For me, it's been, I would say the, you know, not playing on Friday night has been, you know, it's been a little different, you know, having to play on Saturday rather than, you know, a Friday night
right.
game. But honestly, you know, Yeah, it'll probably Friday night. That's it.
Anything from you, Mekhi?
Yeah, basically the same thing having to play on Saturdays and kind of like coming from Stilton, like our crowd is there like any game, and they give us like that's kind of what our team builds off of most of the time. So actually going into the like games like Middletown or games that we have away, and like having that momentum, and like not being able to look at the crowd and like hype the crowd up, get the crowd up, like
Right.
that's one of the big differences.
Kai, I just wanted to ask you, where are you in your recruiting? Obviously, everybody has to ask you that question, so I got to do my due diligence and ask you, what's it look like for you in a couple, for foreseeable future? I know schedules have been quirky. If you want that scholarship to Eastern Michigan, I could try to work that out for you.
Yeah, right now, right now, as of now, like during the season, because I've been focusing a lot on like my team and our team and winning. So I've been taking it really slow, but I actually plan on dropping a top 10 on November 3rd.
Oh, nice.
There you go. You got it, E.
All right, before Andy puts you guys on the hot seat, I wanted to ask both of you, who's got the corniest nickname on the team? What corny means.
Yeah.
Who's got? It's so corny. It's actually kind of cool. Who's got it?
It's probably we actually got about 3 of them. One of our line name is
Yeah. Yeah,
what?
I was gonna say that.
And then we got like a skill guy, and I had Coach Irby calls him spider legs. So it's actually a lot. And then we got another our fullback actually, he calls him 8 ball. So it's like a toss up between them 3.
8 ball.
Yeah.
Good one. All right, guys, I'm going to throw you on the hot seat. We'll let you get out. Thank you so much again for joining us. All right, I'm going to start with you, Mekhi. First question, then you answer, Tydre. Cake or pie?
Cake.
Cake.
All right. Your first, Tydre. College football on Saturday or NFL football on Sunday? Which one? Not both.
NFL football on Sunday.
Mekhi?
Oh, I got to go with college footballs on Saturday.
Okay, I'm sticking with you, Mekhi. Your favorite high school football uniform and helmet combination that is not yours. In other words, not the Rollers. Whose other gear do you like?
I actually like Middletown's a lot. Like last year, I think they had gray uniforms. They didn't bring them out a lot, but I like those ones a lot.
I like Harrisburg's, the Cougars. I like their color. Yeah.
The whites or the blacks?
The blacks.
The blacks. Yeah. Either one's good. All right, I'll keep going. Tydre, this one's for you. What is your go-to song right now? The go-to song.
I'll probably have to say it's the song by Big Sean called Dime Life. That's my go-to song right now.
Okay, what's your go-to song right now?
Probably the new Drake song, Laugh Now, Cry Later.
Yeah.
Go. Last one. Start with you, Mekhi. What's your go-to ordering sheets? Give it to me.
The app platter, 2 Wisconsin bites and chicken bites.
I have to say the sliders, the cheeseburger ones. Those is my go-to.
Cheeseburger sliders. There you go.
Nice. All right, gentlemen. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time out and joining us. Congratulations on the big win. Well earned. Many more to you. Obviously, stay healthy, stay safe. And tell Coach Herb thanks for letting us chat with you guys for a few minutes. And we'll see you
for having me.
No problem.
Yeah, thank
guys.
you.
Take care. All right, awesome. All right, that'll do it. Couple of Steel Eye Rollers coming up. Quarter number 4. It's picks and predictions time. You're listening to High School Football Now with Eric and Andy, presented by 4th Down Magazine. Come on back.
This is High School Football Now, presented by 4th Down Magazine.
Okay, welcome back to High School Football Now with Eric and Andy. We are presented by 4th Down Magazine, and our picks and predictions are sponsored by Crown Trophy. Go to crowntrophy.com for all your trophy needs. All right, these are week 3 predictions, week 4, week 3, whatever. It's this week's predictions, right? So last week, somebody took the lead in the Epler Cup.
Somebody did.
Champion. Me, I went 8-2. You went 7-3. We're still close overall. I'm 14-6 overall. You're 13-7. All right, you ready for Friday's night
Shameful.
games?
Yes.
Let's start it up. West Shore Stadium, 7 o'clock. Bishop McDevitt Crusaders, first kind of non-scrimmage for them. They're going to go to West Shore Stadium where the Colts of Cedar Cliff are licking their wounds a little bit after getting upset by Hershey. What do you think, E?
I hope we didn't jinx the Colts for having those guys on last week. Three interceptions for Gannon McMeans and that loss to Hershey doesn't bode well. Now they're going to be without running back. Obviously, an all-purpose guy, Jonte Morris, is out now with a torn knee injury. He's not playing this year for the rest of the year. So, I think Cedar Cliff, again, we talked earlier about them having a little baggage carryover from Berks Catholic, and then coming off the Hershey, they should be ticked off. But I don't know how they're going to take this win or that loss. I don't know what this week of practice is going to be like. Losing a teammate like your running back and a guy that you were going to rely on quite a bit this season, that stings. And McDevitt right now has just gone through, 8 breezy quarters so far in the football season, and they've got a lot of weapons. So I'm going to take McDevitt here. I don't know what the score is going to be. I don't know what the margin would be, but you got to like McDevitt, who was without Marquise Williams. He's got an ankle injury too last week, so I don't know if he'll be back, but it didn't seem like it was serious. But I'll take McDevitt.
I will take Bishop McDevitt as well. I mean, they've had 2 glorified scrimmages, right? But the quarterback, Lek Powell's off to a flying start against what I call scrimmage-worthy opponents. But he's still on point, right? The defense will get more of a test from Cedar Cliff. We know that. But with Morris out for the Colts, it makes Cedar Cliff more one-dimensional. And that's easier scheme-wise for McDevitt to sort of work and get ready for. I expect Marquise Williams to be back. I think he's going to play this week. Hershey dropped big plays on the Colts. Expect McDevitt to do more of the same. All right, moving on. This is at the Posh Turf at Siebert Park, 7 o'clock Friday. Middletown at Camp Hill. What do you think, E?
Yeah, I'm not completely sold on labeling Middletown's 23-point loss to Steel High like as a one-off. They do have some issues. They got a lot to clean up there for Middletown. It would be nice if Tony Powell could get back in the lineup, their quarterback.
Yep.
I'm not sure that's going to happen this week, though. Steel High just, or Camp Hill, they're fun. I mean, they're fun to watch.
They are.
They're a wide open offense. They're having a good start to this season. But I think the grind of this game, I think Coach Myers is really gonna challenge his guys up front in this one. And Camp Hill's inability to run the football, I think this will sort of turn into a big play or no play for Camp Hill. So I'm going to take Middletown here. This might not be a pretty game. It might be sort of fun to watch some big plays here and there, but it might not be pretty football. So I'm going to take Middletown to bounce back.
I'll take the Blue Raiders as well. Camp Hill's off to a 2-0 start, right behind the right arm of Daniel Schuster.
Mm-hmm.
He's finding those weapons. Like they didn't know who was going to emerge as go-to weapons. Well, it's been a different one each week, and he's going to find them. They don't have a running game, the Lions. I don't even know if they really even try. I don't think they really care. And I don't mean that as a knock or anything. I really literally just don't think they care. They're like, this is what we're going to do. They're not that physical up front. Defensively, they don't look that big and strong to me. And Middletown kind of brings a little physical element to the table that I think is going to be too much for Camp Hill to overcome. That's enough for me to pick the Blue Raiders. All right, moving on. Let's go down to Eldon Retu Stadium. Solanco Golden Mules at Mannheim Central. This is a big game for the Barons, E.
It's a big game for the Barons and validation for Solanco, really. I mean, coming off that big win, but 3 games in now, your squad's not new anymore. Your starters aren't new anymore. Your 20 new starters, it doesn't cut it anymore. So they need a complete effort here, and they're going to need it to beat a team who's coming off a win like that for Solanco. So I don't take what Solanco did against Cacalco for granted here, but I think the Barons do bounce back. I think you'll see a complete effort out of them, both offensively and defensively. So I will take Mannheim Central to go to 2-2.
I'm going to take Solanco. I'll take the Golden Mules here. Cacalco beat Mannheim Central. Then Solenko beats Kakalico a week later. That makes perfect sense to me, right? But, I mean, you have a good point about, Manheim Central being a benchmark program, right?
Right.
And that 32-point loss for Solenko in week 1 to LS, that kind of bothers me. So I'm going to stick with Solenko, but just know for the record, I'm hedging a little bit. I'm hedging, but I'm going to stick with Solenko. All right, let's move on to Buckswank Stadium in Palmyra. Hershey at Palmyra. Are the Trojans going to be 3-0?
I think you have to make them a favorite here. I think you have to pick them if you're thinking about this broadly. I think you do have to pick Hershey here. I will say this, though. I love the way Palmyra competes. I mean, to me, they're like an East Penn. They compete. They may not have all the horses that they need to win consistently, but they always bring it for 48 minutes. They always try their best, and they always kind of get – Chris Pope's done a really good job getting max effort out of the guys that he and they play hard for him. So that speaks volume to me for Palmyra. But I think this game could evolve into a little bit of a shootout. So I'm going to take Hershey, though. I think they're pretty equipped to win it. So I'll take Hershey. Keep them undefeated.
I'm going to take Hershey going to 3-0 as well. For me, this game's about the Trojans' defense more than anything else. And can they keep taking those big shots downfield and hitting them? Eventually going to slow down or stop. Like you, I see a tight game, but I'm not sure I see a ton of points in this game. But I'm still picking Hershey as well. All right, Robert F. Bostic Field. That is in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. Shippensburg back in the 0-2 Shippensburg with the sirens and the hurricane flag warnings going off. Now they got to play the Bears, Northern Polar Bears.
And that's
not an easy spot for Shippy.
And they dropped the pickle there, right?
They do drop the pickle on New Year's. Yes.
All right. That's whatever floats your boat. Okay. Do they cook? Do they grow pickles there? Is that what that is?
I don't know. I have no idea. And I don't
anyway,
far from Dillsburg.
Anyway, back to Bostic.
Yes.
I always thought Bostic was a tough place to walk into and win a ball game, especially one where you have these kind of tight rivalry and division games. I'm going to take Northern here. Like I said, I can't find it was sort of the Cumberland Valley dilemma last week where I couldn't find a consistent something to lean on consistently. And I have not seen that out of Shippensburg. I mean, we expected to hear Manning to Hauser a bunch of times. We expected, those linemen just to kind of, evolve and continue. I know Coach Faust has a bunch of different guys up front. I think it's like 15 guys who are new full-time starters. But still, again, we're a couple weeks in, and I like Northern. I think Northern's ground attack will be enough. And I like the way I always like the way Northern's defense, particularly their front seven,
right,
sort of go about their business. They're not always the strongest guys or the biggest, but they always play – it's always tough against Northern's front seven. So I'll take Northern.
I'm going to take the Polar Bears. I'm not sure what to expect from Shippensburg. I just don't know what to hang my hat on like you. I do know that Northern quarterback Jordan Heisey, he's been playing lights out for 8 quarters. He had to do a lot for them to finally put away Wes Perry, and he did it. He has the experience, and I expect that to continue. And I'm going to take Northern. So John H. Fredericks Field, next to the train tracks in Mechanicsburg, Greencastle Antrim pays a visit to the Wildcats. What'd you think of this one, E?
I've written this multiple times for Mechanicsburg. A lot of firepower and a lot of gumption, a lot of grit out of this team. I like the way Anthony Rose is sort of just letting his guys freelance a little bit. They're not as technical. They're just sort of down and dirty. They get the job done. The blue-collar guys, that's what you want. I'll take Mechanicsburg.
Yeah. I will take Mechanicsburg as well. I mean, if the Blue Devils lose a 14-7 game like they did a week ago to Waynesboro, that's not good, right?
Right.
They aren't built to go up and down the field. And like you just said, Mechanicsburg will freewheel, and they have no problem going up and down the field. But in a game where there's 21 total points, Greencastle's got to win those games and kind of keep that.
Yeah.
When they go too much Brubaker and all those weapons at his disposal, excuse me. I just think that's too much for Greencastle to subdue over 48 minutes when their offense hasn't consistently been able to score more than 1 or 2 touchdowns a game.
Right,
So
right.
I will take Mechanicsburg. Let's go to Glenn Ressler Field. Little Liberty action. Halifax is going to visit Line Mountain. Go ahead, E.
It's a pretty good 1-2 punch going on right now at Line Mountain. Jacob Freezer, quarterbacks, multi-purpose guy, dual threat, Swiss Army knife. You got Garrett Loudensliger, who's a tough hombre to bring down. Halifax showed a lot more than I thought they had in week 1. They had to wait an extra week to start.
Right.
So I'm going to take Line Mountain here. I'll give 4 points to being at Glenn Ressler. That's a nice place to play. And I think this is going to be closer, though. I mean, I was surprised at how well Halifax did and how well they fought in week 1. They didn't win, but they fought. So I'll take Line Mountain.
Yeah, I like the fight in Halifax too, but I'm taking Line Mountain because I think Freeze and Loudensliger that's just too much for Halifax right now. I don't think they can go into the 30s and compete in that kind of game right now. So, all right, let's go to Big Spring High School Stadium, 7 o'clock Friday night. Boiling Springs at Big Spring. This should be a rivalry game. It should have we say this every year. It should be a rivalry game. It should be a trophy game. They're right next to each other. They neighbor each other. And this is a big game for both teams.
It is a big game. These two guys have played 8 times since 2011. 2013, there was a forfeit. Big Spring won by forfeit. I'm not sure what happened there. But 5 of those games out of the 8 have been decided by a touchdown or less. I did some research.
You did?
Yeah. The Bubblers have a really good feeling going on right now. Like I said, I think Coach L is the right guy to keep them locked up, looking forward, not celebrating the 2-0 start, to keep moving. We mentioned that wing T. If you do it right, it's tough to defend. We saw Cumberland Valley do it for 99 years before they changed up a little bit. I will take Boiling Springs. I will take them on the road.
I will take Boiling Springs as well. You were big on road teams last week. Now I'm leading the Shepler Cup. I'm just saying that out loud. Neither one of these programs, they've been tight squeezes, as you mentioned. That's great research, by the way. And all indications are this could be another one. It seems like the Bubblers have more firepower. They haven't been tested at the level that Big Spring has.
Right.
That's the thing that is going to be interesting for me. Are the Bubblers against a little bit more of a test than they faced the first 8 quarters ready? I don't know. Let's go to Octorara High School Stadium. That is in what is it?
At Glen.
At Glen.
That's your new favorite.
Octorara big game.
You forgot your favorite new destination. You forgot At Glen. Yeah, I think Section 4 goes through Eastern Lebanon County. That's just me. Columbia was a tough win for Octorara last week. Maybe that was some residuals from that. But Braden Bohannon, the quarterback for Elko, has been really, really good. They've got a lot of other nice parts who can do some damage offensively. This could be a wild one indeed. But I will take Elko on the road, sticking with the road team.
I'll take Elko as well. Bohannon's he's the best player in the field, right? And that'll be evident when the final whistle blows in this one. I feel very strongly about this pick, oddly enough.
It's your 5-star.
Yeah, it's a 5-star.
It's your 5-star. Okay.
It's Elko all the way, even though the boys from at Glen are coming off a big win at Columbia. I feel strongly about this pick. Last one, George R. Saxon Memorial Field. West Perry 0-2. East Pennsboro 1-1. What do you think, E?
Both teams we mentioned earlier are still fighting, obviously, for pace. They're trying to figure out some permanent guys to put in. East Penn with a good win last week against Fleetwood. And West Perry really has gotten nothing out of 8 pretty good quarters. They've played pretty good quarters of football, and they've gotten really nothing out of it in terms of wins and losses. So they don't have a win yet, just a couple hard scrums. But you know what? I think they get their first win here. I will take the Mustangs.
I will take the Mustangs as well. Their record's not indicative of what West Perry's done so far, right? The thing that stands out to me is 2 weeks ago, Northern boat raced East Pennsboro. And it took the kitchen sink from the Polar Bears to subdue West Perry last week, right? That grit and thirst for the just reward of their efforts, to me, that drives West Perry to 1-2. So I will take the Mustangs.
Yeah, I think West Perry was one of those teams we undervalued earlier segment.
But they're 0-2.
Flashback. All right, that'll do it, gents. Thanks so much for joining us on this edition of High School Football Now with Andy and Eric. We are presented by Fourth Down Magazine and the proud folks at Small Player Big Play app. That's where you can find us each week. Special thanks to the couple steamrollers, Mehki Flowers and Tydre Holland Alli. Those dudes have been cooking so far, and they host Trinity High up top Steelton on Saturday at high noon. Check those guys out. Look for them Saturday. All right, that'll do it. A, thanks a bunch.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you, E.
And we'll see everybody next week. Have fun.
See ya.
Jazz hands.